Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I'm Chris Witt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, how are you today?
I'm amazing. How are you?
If I was any better, I'd be in Arizona watching the Reds on a daily basis, writing sports columns for the Cincinnati Enquirer / USA Today, just like our special guest today, Mr. Bobby Nightengale. How are you?
Well, actually, I don't know if you'd actually agree, because I heard in Cincy it was in the 60s today, and in Arizona it was in the 60s. So
you've got nothing on us, buddy.
Yeah. So how beautiful has it been for the last couple weeks in Arizona?
I mean, it's great to see baseball in person again. I mean, after last year, just getting through that year, that was kind of, hopefully we don't have to do that again, but just been nice to travel again and kind of have some sense of normalcy. I mean, still masked and everything, but as close to normal as we can be right now.
What are they doing for you guys for interviews right now? Are you guys in-person interviews, or are you going to the games, watching the games, and then having to do Zoom interviews afterwards?
Yeah, it's almost like 99% Zoom, but there are a little bit of one-on-ones in person, that type of thing. You can still talk to people, but so it's more than last year, but it's not anywhere close to where we used to be.
Gotcha.
Step in the right direction, though. It's good.
1% every day.
There you go. Right on. All right, so let's jump right into it then. You've got to be sick of talking about this. I'm sure you can't wait till the season starts. So whatever they decide, they decide. But let's start in the infield. Let's go over it. Just go over it and get it over with. Is Eugenio Suarez definitely the shortstop on opening day? Is Jonathan India definitely the second baseman on opening day?
I think so. I mean, I'd be surprised if it's anybody but those two in those spots. I think I don't think you make that move if you don't intend for that to happen. If they were going to try it out, I think you would have done it in the first couple of weeks of camp instead of the last 2 weeks. So I feel like they're almost at this point where it's like, all right, we're going to talk ourselves into it. You're going to have a lot worse defense at shortstop. I mean, Suarez is truly a third baseman, but Mike Moustakas is back to his natural position. He should be at least equal to Suarez at third base defensively. And then Jonathan India is a better second baseman than Mike Moustakas. So you can almost look at it as you improve two positions, you take a step back at shortstop, but you have your best offense out there, definitely by far, I think. I think I'd be shocked if it goes any other way.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you gain on offense? Does that outweigh what you're losing on defense? Because, I mean, you're going to definitely a better offensive lineup, but you're probably losing something on defense, would you say? And what's the net balance there?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question this season. I mean, I think that's the bet they're making. To me, it comes down to Jonathan India versus Kyle Farmer. When everyone's healthy, when Joey Votto's playing first base, you basically took Kyle Farmer, your starting shortstop, who he doesn't have a ton of experience at shortstop, but he was going to be the starting shortstop probably going into the year, and you replace him with Jonathan India. If Jonathan India has a great rookie season, I mean, he's going to struggle. All rookies do. But if he can hit at the bottom of the lineup and provide more offense than Kyle Farmer and anyone else would have played shortstop like D. Strange Gordon, to me, that's the bet they're making, is we can get a lot more for Jonathan India than we could have if we kept Kyle Farmer at shortstop.
How fun is it to say D. Strange Gordon?
I like the D. Gordon name though. It's just rolled a lot smoother.
100%.
It's been it's been so hard for me to get used to that.
Have you guys seen his jersey? Like, it's the Strange Gordon. He's a small guy. It goes all the way around.
All the way around.
Yeah, it reminds me of Jared Saltalamacchia.
Or Nomar Garciaparra. Garciaparra used to wrap all the way around too. Oh man.
Speaking of that, speaking of D. Strange Gordon, I'm just going to be honest. I was rooting like crazy for that guy to make it, because I love, Chris knows this from all the Billy Hamilton stuff. I was talking back in the day, trying to apologize for him. I wanted D. Strange Gordon for the same reasons to make this team. To me, it looks like there are too many guys, because offensively, it looks like this team looks pretty good offensively so far in spring. So because there are so many guys having good springs behind at the plate, is D Strange Gordon probably out?
No, I think he still has a good chance. I mean, he brings speed that nobody else has. And I think that's when you're looking at it, filling out a bench, I don't know if they'd feel comfortable starting him at shortstop every day, but he can play anywhere in the infield, third, second, short. And he's say you're in extra innings, you need a guy to be at second base and try and steal a base or something, or just score on a single. I mean, who are you going to trust more than a guy like him who's stolen all the bases he has in his career? I think over the past 5 years, only Billy Hamilton's stolen more. So I think he's got a decent chance just because he brings something different to the table than, a lot of these backup infielders bring the same thing, like Alex Blandino, Max Schrock, some of these names you're hearing for the backup infielders, even Kyle Farmer. They're all kind of in the same category where D Strange Gordon's a little different. So I think that helps him in the long run.
You hear that, Chris?
Yeah, I heard that the only reason he's going to make this team is because Major League Baseball decided to put a beer league softball rule into extra innings. That's what I just heard. So tell me about this Max Schrock kid, because I've been listening to some games on the radio because I can't watch baseball games now because Fox Sports Ohio's can't make a deal with anyone, which we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But tell me about this Max Schrock kid, because he's really hitting the heck out of the ball.
Yeah, he kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he's only has maybe 11 games of major league experience with the Cardinals last year. So just a waiver claim. They got him from the Cubs, just kind of bounced around a little bit. And all he's done is hit. I mean, he missed probably a week and a half because of a calf injury this camp. But every time he hits, he's hitting line drives, even if it's outs, right at guys. In terms of just solid approach, he's a guy who doesn't strike out too throughout his whole career, rarely strikes out, which I think gives him a chance for the bench, just because you call in a guy off the bench, you want him to put the ball in play, whether it's a hit or an out. That's a lot better than a strikeout. So I could see him fitting that way too.
Have they made a decision? Are they going 13 and 13? Is that what they're doing? 13 fielders, 13 pitchers?
That's the plan. I mean, there's some nagging injuries, and maybe if Votto can't get ready for opening day, maybe they change their plans. But if everything's ideal, it's going to be 13-13.
How much will Lorenzen make it into this outfield this year?
It's a good question. I mean, if you look at like if Shogo Akiyama's out for a while, and I don't think it'll be too long, but I could see him missing maybe 3 weeks to a month because of his hamstring injury. I could see Lorenzen in late in games. I mean, say you have to double switch Nick Senzel for some reason, or even if Senzel got hurt, I mean, then you have to put someone else there, and then Lorenzen's your best defensive outfielder. I still think he's probably the best defensive outfielder. I mean, you could replace Jesse Winker with Lorenzen in left field, or Nick Castellanos in right field with Lorenzen. So there's only a few days he can do it though, because like the day after he starts, when he's a starting pitcher, you're not going to have him play in the outfield because he's got to rest his arm. Probably the day before he starts, probably not, and then the day he starts, he can't. So it's probably 2 of the 5 days in a cycle, but I could see it happening more than we think.
I'm so excited to finally see him get his chance in this starting rotation. For years, we have talked since he's came up and got thrown into the bullpen. It's always been a talk. Could he possibly get in? And you talk about having him as a defensive replacement at the end of games, possibly getting some bats in the pinch hitting spot. But you're going to have another bat. You're going to have a pitcher who could potentially bat 5th or 6th in your lineup every 5th day. That's not a bad gig. And I think he's deserved this. I think this kid is, he's been throwing 4 or 5 pitches out of the bullpen was that you the one talking about that? I think that was your story that I was reading. He's been throwing 4 or 5 pitches out of the bullpen for the last couple of years in anticipation of finally getting his chance. Is he going to stay in that role, or because he's had such success, will he be the first one to the bullpen if they need help?
No, I think they're committed to him starting. He has a minor injury right now with his shoulder, but if everything's clear, I think he's definitely in the rotation, or at least he'll get as long of a look as he can, as long as he's successful. But like you said, it's something he's dreamed about for years. He felt like he didn't really get a fair shot. He did it his rookie year, and that was just his second year ever starting, because in college he was a center fielder and a closer. So he transitioned to starting, and he always felt like if he had another chance at it, he'd be a lot better at it. And I'm sure a lot of guys feel that way when they get older, just more experience. So he's really excited about it. You can tell. And just for the reasons you mentioned too, he gets to hit more often. He has a better chance of playing the outfield, pinch running, all those things. He can be more of a true two-way player versus as a reliever. There's always that idea in the back of your head. You're like, well, we don't want to burn him and not have him pitch. So now he doesn't really have to worry about that 2 of the 5 days in that 5-day pitching cycle.
Yeah, and I know numbers don't matter nearly as much, especially for pitchers, I think, in spring training. But it's almost been the opposite of last year's season. The pitching was so outstanding and the hitting was subpar, and it's kind of been the opposite of that. It seems like in spring training here. Is Lorenzen's one of those guys, but there are several guys who, I mean, they're striking a lot of people out, it seems like, but then they're getting a lot of their pitches barreled too. So is that something, is there anybody, because for me, it's, I understand how spring training works. You just work on your stuff. You don't go in with scouting reports and stuff like that. I think Lucas Sims said something about that today. So I get it's different, but at some point toward the middle or from the middle toward the end, I would think you would want to see some progress in the numbers of the results, that you're getting more people out more often and guys aren't squaring you up as often. Is there any concern about any of these guys who have ERAs at 9 or 12 or 15 that, they're going to struggle going into the season?
I don't think there's anyone I'm truly concerned about. I mean, Lorenzen, he eased into camp. Like last year, came into camp throwing 100, and this year he came in throwing like low 90s, and that was on purpose. Just because of the long season, I think a lot of guys are like, let's take it easy. Most guys only threw maximum 80 innings last year. Now, if you're a starter, you got to double that. If you're a reliever, like Amir Garrett pointed out, he threw 18 innings last year, and now he's going to be throwing at least 60, 70, especially if he's a closer, maybe 80. So I think a lot of them are taking it easy. I think now, because the last off day was yesterday on Monday, so I almost look at spring training in stages, and this is now the stage where it's like, okay, now you have to try. Now you have to have results. Maybe the scouting report's not there, like Lucas Sims said, but this was just his first outing of the spring. But for guys like Jeff Hoffman and all those other guys in the roster bubble, I think now is the time where it's like, okay, you have to show results compared to working on stuff.
So we've got a pretty good idea of the starting lineup for this team going into opening day. I think we've got a pretty good idea with Lorenzen healthy, who our 5-man rotation is going to be coming into this year. Who is the surprise that people need to be watching these last few games of spring that you've got to see this entire time, that could easily make this team or could be the first ones called up from AAA later on because of how well they've played this spring?
I think Jose De Leon's right on that bubble. He's he's been used as a starter during camp. He might be a reliever starter during the season, but he's got nasty stuff. I mean, he's got a great changeup, fastball. In the Puerto Rican Winter League, it was up to 98. Right now, he's around like 94. But if he gets back up to 98, I could definitely see him having a huge impact. He just walks a lot of guys. And if he ever figures that out with some tweaks with the coaching staff, he's a guy that I think will have a huge role on the team if he learns how to throw strikes consistently. Another guy, TJ Antone, I think people saw him have success last year, so it's not like he's coming out of nowhere. But I really think if he's right, if he's healthy, I mean, he was probably the nastiest pitcher I saw the first couple of weeks of spring.
Wow.
In terms of his fastball was up to 99. He has an amazing slider, great curveball. So he's a guy that I think if he's pitching well, he's probably going to be in a relief role. But if he's pitching well, he's going to make the bullpen work. He won't be a closer, but he could definitely be like a Josh Hader role type where he pitches 3 innings out of the bullpen, shuts them down, hands the ball to the closer after that.
Yeah. Was De Leon one of the guys I saw waiting on a ruling from Major League Baseball about his options?
Yeah, so if he's out of options, that means he has to go through waivers to be sent to the minor leagues, and I doubt the Reds would have any interest in ever doing that with how much potential he has. So if he's out of options, he's definitely in the bullpen because he has to be on the active roster the entire season. If he has an option, I could see him going to the alternate site, and they just keep him as a starter and wait till they have a needed starter. Someone you never survive a season with 5 starters, so I could see him being the number 6.
So speaking of the alternate site, now that's not going to be an all-year thing, right? They are planning on starting minors just later in the season. It's when is minor league baseball supposed to start?
May 4th, so they can do the May the 4th be with you. I think that's probably the reason to do all the promotions, because I think that's a big money day for them. But May 4th, so they'll do the alternate site in Louisville, and then they'll just transition to minor league baseball once we get closer to May.
So speaking of the guys that are going to be there are 2 guys specifically and another guy I wanted to ask you about. Do you think we will see Nick Lodolo or Hunter Green at all this year, even at the end of it?
I think there's a chance you see Lodolo. He's been pitching a little bit in major league games. I think he might pitch tomorrow too, which is a sign to me they want to see how he does against major league hitters and just giving him that experience. Now he still needs experience, so he'll probably start in AA or AAA. But he's definitely, as a lefty too, just a different look guy who could come out of the bullpen maybe at the end of the season. Otherwise, maybe he's deep into the starters if a bunch of starters got hurt. I could see him being kind of an emergency option, but they really like his potential. Hunter Green, I think you're probably not going to see him until 2022 at the earliest. Not that, the velocity is electric. He was up to 104, I think the other day, but it's just, he's coming back from Tommy John. He hasn't faced hitters since 2018. It's just one of those, I think it's too much to ask to him to jump all the way to the major leagues in 1 year. I'm sure he wants to do it. I know that's his goal, but I think it's more realistic to think 2022 maybe is a chance at the rotation going into next year.
I got suckered into those first 3 pitches he threw in spring training when he first started, and then after that he gave up like 3 straight hits. I was like, oh, okay. But one other guy I'm really interested in is Cam Bedrosian. Do you think he makes this team?
Yeah, I do. I think he's been consistent enough where he's on a minor league deal right now, but I could see him making the opening day roster. He has a track record. It's been good with the Angels. And usually you give the benefit of the doubt to those guys too, that as a veteran, it's spring training, he'll figure things out during the season if there's anything he needs to work on too.
Votto came back last week, or what was it? Yeah, it was Friday, Saturday, something like that.
Yesterday, wasn't it? Or
Monday, Sunday, a few days ago. So Votto comes back to spring training. How long does it take for a guy? Baseball is a little different than football and basketball, where when you come back, you got to have your stamina up and be, in football shape and in basketball shape. Baseball is a little different. It's not the stamina side of it isn't something that you really got to worry about as much as, I don't know, maybe strength. How bad was the COVID for him? And is he going to be able to step right back into this team by the end of the week?
Yeah, that's the big question. I don't know. I could see it either way. Obviously he's a guy with experience, so he knows what he's doing in spring training, but to go from 2 weeks off, obviously he was built up before that, but to take 2 weeks off and then you have like 10 days to get ready for the season, to face major league hitting on an opening day, to face, Jack Flaherty, I think that's a hard ask. Obviously Votto's a veteran, and I think there's a chance he's ready. But I think it's difficult to replicate that. I don't think he'll be in spring training games till at the end of the week at the earliest, maybe Thursday, Friday. So then you only have 2 or 3 spring training games. He'll probably stay here and get some extra work in while the team flies back to Cincinnati and then flies in. If it's not opening day, I could see him maybe within the first week. But and it's also, say he had symptoms. I don't know if he did. He didn't want to talk about it. But obviously that would slow things down too.
I just think about like the regular, if you go on to injured list and you're on the 15-day injured list, I mean, people come off of that and play the very next day all the time. So, without having to have a minor league, depending on the injury or depending on what they were on it for, obviously, but people come back from that all the time. So I thought maybe he'd be able to slide right in, but doesn't sound like
But the COVID list is a little bit different, that he was banned from the facility. So it wasn't even like you could, hit off a tee while he was here. He was kind of quarantining by himself for, I think it was 13 days.
Oh yeah, because he's not even at home at that point. He's quarantined in a hotel room probably for 2 weeks. That's gotta be terrible.
He's probably got a house out here, I would think. Just as a guy who's been paid before.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But still, I mean, by himself.
So speaking of that, you are in. So how long are you in Arizona? When do you get there and when do you leave?
I've been here since, I can't remember the date, but whenever the first full squad workout was. I left for 4 days to go home to Cincy, saw my wife, and then out here until the last spring training game the day after I fly back to Cincy.
Man, nice. So freshly married, only gets to go home for a few days. Did you have Skyline? What was the trip when you got back?
I didn't have Skyline, so I just moved to Florence, Kentucky in early February, bought a house. So got some local places there. Lita's Tacos. I don't know if you guys have ever.
Ooh.
Good Mexican food there.
I've seen Lito's Tacos before. I've never been there. Heard it's pretty good though.
Yeah, it was surprising. I mean, Florence is a lot more diverse cuisine than I thought when I moved there.
But when you drive
everything's
through,
in Florence.
yeah, when you drive through and there's a big Florence y'all sign on the water tower, it doesn't come off as much of a diverse cuisine kind of area.
I Google like food near me and it's like Japanese, Mexican, it has everything. And it's just like, wow, it's a lot better than I thought it was when I moved out here.
So another question about when you're out there. So for a guy like me who my favorite thing in the world would be to cover a major league sports team. So obviously super jealous of what you do every day. But when you do have to do that, you work for a newspaper, right? So we all know where the printed word is these days. Do they put you up in like, you got like you at the Bates Motel, you're in a Holiday Inn, you're in the Marriott Express? What do they got you in something like that?
Well, we have a 3-bedroom house out here. We're probably about 10 minutes from the complex. And it's been kind of like a revolving door. Charlie Goldsmith, he's the other beat guy now, replaced John Fay. He's been out here the whole time. And then Paul Doherty was here last week. We had our photographer, Sam Green, out here for, I think, 2 weeks. So we've made use of the house at least.
Nice. There you go. That's at least you got some people to hang out with, and you get your own little bubble to kind of be around. You can actually look at people in your own house without having a mask on like you got to do the entire time at the game. That's a nice way to do it.
That's good.
I mentioned this the other day. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but like with the masks, everyone wears masks. When some people take their masks off, their bottom of their mouth looks completely different than like my mind imagined. And for a huge loop. I don't know if that ever happens to you guys, but
all the time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The best thing is when you're out and you see maybe a young lady and you're like, hey, she looks pretty nice. And then you're like, actually, I have no idea what she looks like.
No idea. Saturday Night Live did the best skit on that. There was a bunch of girls with masks on, and Pete Davidson and somebody else were like rappers, and they did a rap about your grill. Take your mask down. Let me see your grill. And all these women dropped their mask down with just totally wrecked. Anyway, super fun. It just reminded me. Sorry for the tangent.
No, you're right about that though. Okay, so then if all those other beat writers are there, if you could just go into the other room and bring everybody in together, that'd be great. We could just start this thing.
Do the bullpen call.
Yeah. Bring in the lefty. Bring in the photographer. This is the bullpen call now. Bring in the photographer. Let's see what he has. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. You got anything else on these red legs here? Because I got some. I really want to get into our next spot. If you got a little bit of extra time, Bobby. We got
I got plenty of time.
I'm excited about this. Let's do it.
Oh, No, wait, hold on. I forgot. Before we do that, how am I going to watch the Reds this year, Bobby Nightengale? I have Hulu TV.
He's not worried about it. He gets to watch
TV.
them in person every day.
Exactly. I have Hulu, but you had to have heard about this stuff going on.
No,
right?
I've heard about it.
Exactly. So I have Hulu TV. Adam has YouTube TV. My dad has YouTube TV. He calls me last night and says, "You've been watching the Reds?" I said, "No, I've been listening to them." He said, "Try to turn it on." Pulled up the old guide. I got every Fox Sports thing there is except Ohio. All of a sudden it's gone. Same thing for YouTube TV. Same thing for like everything. If you have a streaming service, the only streaming service that has it is like AT&T or something like that right now. So I believe DirecTV still has it and the Dish still has it. So if I don't want to have cable, is there any way that we're going to be able to watch the Reds this year?
I don't think there is legally. I mean, it's one of those. It's a
All right.
Sinclair thing. I mean, it's not. I don't even think the Reds have any control over it. It's just one
No, of course not.
broadcast
So,
rights fights.
You mentioned the word legally. After this is over, if you want to shoot a text or email, call, whatever, and let me know the illegal ways, I'd appreciate it. I just need the Reds on the big screen is all I need.
Well, I always hear I haven't used it, but because I haven't needed to use it, but like changing your VPNs and Reddit streams, and I hear there's other ways to get around it.
Did you see that? Did you see that go directly over both of our heads?
No, I've heard that like ExpressVPN is a company that a lot of podcasts promote that as one of their sponsors. Like it's a VPN. You can get like shows from other countries and like all kinds of things that you can't normally get. So that could be an option. I didn't even think about that.
What
I
is
think it basically changes your location. So you're like, you're in Cincy, but it says you're from New York. And so since you're out of market, you can see things.
Yeah, but I don't even get it on
different
Hulu
for out
Live.
of market viewers.
So even if I change my volatile personal network, I don't know. I mean, I can't even get it if I was in or out of network.
I haven't used it, so I can't say from experience how it works, but that's my understanding.
Well, if you know anybody that can hook me up to the pole, in the middle of the night one night, throw over a cable line or something, get me hooked back up. You shoot that over to me. I need something. I need something going. Or if you want to hold your phone up and just hit record, or just FaceTime me every game and just hold it there so we go. I'll take that. If you want to go in the broadcast booth, I could get Tom and the Cowboy. Then I'd get Tom. What are you talking about? No Tom. Why wouldn't I get Tom? What's his name? Tom something. I don't even know the guy's name.
Oh, Tommy Thrall. That's right.
Tommy Thrall.
I'm thinking.
I'd get Tom and the Cowboy and your video. I'd totally take it. Just throwing it out there for you.
I could. That might be a money idea right there.
$5 a game. You get like $1 a game from every person, every subscriber, and might be able to make a little bit of cash.
Yeah, nice little side hustle.
The Reds probably won't like it, but
Sure, you're gonna get right on that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So speaking of the Reds are Adam and I's favorite team. We live in Cincinnati. You currently live in Cincinnati. Every week on this podcast, Bobby, we do a little thing called the Mount Rushmore. Every week it's something different. We've done Mount Rushmore of breakfast food. We've done Mount Rushmore of Jordan shoes, Mount Rushmore of Sacramento Kings, you name it. And we've done Mount Rushmore of. This week, we knew you were coming on, and we knew you were a Texas Rangers fan. So this week's Mount Rushmore is the Mount Rushmore of Texas, all-time Texas Rangers. So we get 4. You get to pick 4 Texas Rangers all time. Bobby, you're the guest. I'm going to let you go first because I'll tell you this. I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I wrote down 9. And I truly believe you could if you put any of these 9 in there, I wouldn't be mad at you.
Okay. The problem with the Rangers history is that like a lot of their good players are known for being on other teams.
Sure.
They spent time with the Rangers, but that's not their primary team.
But so taking that into consideration, we don't take that. So like Alex Rodriguez, right? I wouldn't put Alex Rodriguez on this list. Alex Rodriguez may be one of the best players, but he's not one of the best all-time Rangers.
Okay.
So if that helps, that's the way that we make things. At least that's what we did with the Sacramento Kings, which made it almost impossible to come up with 4 Kings. But you've still got a really good variety of people on this. Yeah. So if I understand that you were prepared for this. Well,
I was given a heads up.
Could be. Yeah, a heads up. There you go. Maybe not prepared, but a heads up. Let me know what you think. Who do you got?
All right. So my 4, number 1 is Juan Gonzalez. He's my favorite player growing up. Couldn't tell you why, but imitated his batting stance, his haircut, everything. 2-time MVP.
Yes. His haircut too. That is so great.
I remember telling my dad, I was like, give me the Juan Gonzalez.
That was he had kind of the long, like the lettuce in the back, right? He had the.
All I know is I got some bad haircuts. And he's like, you look just like Juan Gonzalez. And I'm like, all right.
That's all I care about.
That's what I'm going for.
So that's 1. Pudge Rodriguez, number 2.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame catcher. Number 3, Michael Young. Kind of like Mr. Texas Rangers.
Yes.
And who do I have for number 4? Number 4, I'll go with Adrian Beltre.
There you go. Nicely done. Nicely done. I'll tell you this, Bobby. We have 3 of the 4. Me and you have 3 of the 4. The same.
Here, before you go, Chris, I'm just going to make it easy because those are the 4 that I had. So Bobby and I have the same exact same 4. Yeah.
Who did you have, Chris?
Neither of you put Nolan Ryan on your list.
See, that's where I felt like he's not known for a Ranger. Like I think he joined the Rangers when he was 40.
Yeah, but he threw 2 no-hitters for the Rangers. He also recorded his 70 millionth strikeout and his 100 millionth strikeout and his 120th millionth strikeout with the Rangers. He set every old man record there was with the Texas Rangers. I feel like if at least our age, me and Adam, when I was growing up, he was playing for the Rangers. I don't remember him as an Astro or a Met or anything like that. I remember Nolan Ryan as a Texas Ranger. So it's my list. I put him on there. And
I feel like in that same thing, then you could put Alex Rodriguez because he won an MVP on a last place team. He was only there 3 or 4 years too. But
that's my thing though. He was only there for like 3 or 4 years. But Nolan Ryan pitched there for like 7 years. From like the time he was 36 to the time he was 57.
He only threw like 874 innings or something like that. I don't think he was there that long.
No. All right. As we discuss this for a second, I will do some quick reconnaissance.
And I'll tell you while you're doing that, speaking of that, that's the biggest thing that jumped out to me looking through numbers and stuff, like the all-time numbers for the Rangers is an organization that is very low in pitching. I mean, I wanted so badly to put Nolan Ryan on that list, but going through everything, I felt like, the hitters stacked up way better and I just couldn't. And he's really you got, let's see, I wrote some of these guys like Charlie Huff, Kenny Rogers, Bobby Witt, and then really after maybe Ferguson Jenkins. After that, you've got guys like Derek Holland and guys.
Yeah, Yu Darvish for a few years.
Yeah, Yu Darvish.
Yeah,
I mean, those are like their best. They're top 10. They're 4 through 10 guys are like guys that you're like, I don't know. And unfortunately, as a lifelong huge Reds fan, I kind of have to admit the Reds are sort of like that too. Really, if you're talking about tradition pitching, they're not, they're not ranked very highly either. But I feel like I honestly felt better about the tradition of Reds pitching when I looked at the Rangers.
So here's what I'm going to say about Nolan Ryan. Yes, he pitched for the Rangers for only 4 years, and he pitched till he was 120. So that in the scheme of things, probably wasn't that much of his career. But if you're a Hall of Fame pitcher, one of the top 15 pitchers of all time, and that's the hat you have on in your plaque, then you're a Texas Ranger.
Is it the hat he has
The
on?
hat he has on.
Wow, I'm surprised about that. Although he pitched for like 9 teams.
Oh, this silly background Adam's got me doing on here.
Anyway, all right. Well, that was fun. I mean, I was thinking we might have a little bit different, but we were pretty much on.
So let's go through this real quick. So what kept Rafi Palmeiro off? He played for 8 years for 2 different stints. Rafi Palmeiro, one of the best. I mean, he just straight raked.
Yeah, he was close to mine. He was probably right in that Michael Young, Adrian Beltre tier. I feel like
Adrian Beltre is automatic. Adrian Beltre is the answer. He's the answer to every trip. If you've got a trivia question where it's top 5 guy from in the 2000s to do something, he's the answer to every single offensive trivia question.
And he won a Gold Glove every year for like 200 years in a row or something like that.
Yeah.
He and Pudge Rodriguez both are. I mean, that's why Pudge is so, because he was really good offensively, but he was maybe the second best defensive catcher ever.
My dad hated me because I used to say Pudge Rodriguez was the best defensive catcher to ever play the game.
You don't still feel that way, right?
I'll tell you what, I love Johnny Bench, and he changed the way people catch. But Pudge Rodriguez him and Benito Santiago might have been the 2 best defensive players at that position that I personally ever got to see.
Those are probably my 3 favorite catchers ever.
Benito Santiago, I mean, Bobby, I don't know exactly how old you are, if you were able to even remember watching Benito Santiago at all.
Remember like the end of his career with the Giants?
Yes. And he was still throwing guys out, picking guys off back at first from his knees with a lefty up the bat.
And I know I can't say this. I'm not in Cincy right now. That's the only reason I'm going to say it now. But Yadier Molina is incredible defensively.
Sure.
For sure,
Yeah.
There's no denying that.
I don't think you'll find a Cincinnati Red fan that will deny that, because at some point in time, you just realize how great some people are, whether you hate the Cardinals or don't hate them, or can't stand them for wanting to fight Brandon Phillips for saying, "How you doing?" one day, give him a little love tap saying, "Hey, what's going on, pal?" Jason LaRue.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like if you consider yourself a really big Reds fan, no matter how you feel about him, if you can't have respect for how good that guy is and his longevity, especially at catcher, nobody plays catcher that long anymore. He's still catching almost every day. If you don't, then you're not a good Reds fan.
But he still gets booed every time he comes up to the plate.
I know.
He gets booed not because of how great he is, but because he's so. You don't boo terrible players. You boo the greats, right?
It's
You
true.
both.
If you're in a different city and an entire stadium is booing you had to do something pretty great for them to want to boo you.
I feel like people still hold the Phillips thing against him, but that was like
Without a doubt.
2012?
Yeah.
Like, that's a long time.
2010, I think.
2010?
2010?
Yeah.
Holy cow. I feel like Jason LaRue should be more mad at him and not at Johnny Cueto.
Jason LaRue's career was over anyway.
Not according to him. Didn't he try to sue Johnny Cueto or something like that? Because he broke his face when he kicked him in his face. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right, Bobby, we've kept you plenty long enough. We appreciate you coming on as always.
Always
when the
happy
season
to.
when the season starts and we get into it, love to have you on again. Maybe we can catch up and grab some more Skyline one day.
Yeah, I'm always down for that.
I'm getting that vaccine as soon as possible, and as soon as I do, we're going to Skyline, buddy.
It's hard to sign up for, man. I've been trying like crazy. It's hard to sign up for that thing. So
Kentucky side's a lot easier.
Is it? I just need to go to Kentucky and get it. So you playing any golf while you're out there real quick?
I'm not a golfer.
Not a golfer?
I bought my tennis racket, but I have yet to play. So
No.
that says about me.
That's much better exercise.
It is way better exercise. That's why I would much rather play golf. All right, man. Sounds good. Thanks again for coming on, brother. And none of us had Josh Hamilton. So, there you go. Another MVP. All right, Bobby, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of spring training. Enjoy the house. And thanks for coming on.
Yep. See you guys soon, hopefully.
Thanks,
See you,
Bobby.
buddy.
Bobby Nightengale.
I'm so terrible at ending interviews because I always have like one last thing. All right, see ya. Oh, wait, by the way, I do that to every person that comes on this podcast.
I do the same thing. I usually like not throw you under the bus. I don't know what the right term is for it, but you're usually responsible for starting and ending. So it's not like I'm doing anything to help.
I enjoy it, but I need to be, we got to figure out better ways to end these things.
You're totally fine.
That being said, speaking of ending things, we put on Twitter last week. We put on this podcast last week. We put on FaceTube last week that if you could beat Adam and Chris in the Nosebleed Sports Podcast tournament bracket game and you were in the top 5, you would win a Nosebleed Sports Podcast t-shirt. Well, Adam Schmidt, you and I are at the top of the Nosebleed Sports Podcast bracket, not because there's only 2 people in it. Oh no, we have almost 1,000 people.
Yeah, it's like 978 or something like that.
Something like that. But none of them are beating the 2 bracket geniuses that we are. Now, who do you have winning the whole thing?
I have Baylor.
All right, you got Baylor, and I have Gonzaga, which I've never felt more confident about in my life. Even though out of any team in this, their bracket's the one that's actually still put together with the top team. So they kind of have a hard way out compared to any other bracket. But you know what? It is what it is. They're the best team in this thing.
Yeah, they beat Oklahoma and looked fantastic doing it. So I expect them to beat Creighton. Creighton's playing well, but I definitely expect Gonzaga to continue on. So, but we've got Randy Witt is the first guy in line to get a shirt. If it ended today, now he's got Ohio State, who was upset in the first round by Oral Roberts, who also won their second round game against Florida and is a 15 seed in the Sweet 16, buddy.
Unbelievable story.
One of, I think it's 4, the first time 4 double-digit seeds have ever been in the Sweet 16, I think I heard. So he's got that. Dylan Myers is next. Joe Leonard, Chris Gramke, and Eric Stidham. Is it Stidham?
Stidham.
So those are the 5 guys right now who are in line for shirts. We got a long way to go, though.
Joe Leonard and Randy Witt both have teams that are no longer in the tournament, as Joe's got Illinois, Randy's got Ohio State. So everybody down below, the hundreds and hundreds down below them, keep your head up. There's a long way to go.
That's right. All right. So that's a quick update. I don't know, anything from the tournament stick out to you that you want to talk about, or?
I think you already said it, the fact that all these double-digit seeds made it to Sweet 16. However, before this started, we kind of talked about how there was a lot of double-digit teams from Power 5 conferences. So it wasn't a huge surprise to see some of the upsets that came through, right? Like we had the winner of the Michigan, both of us had the winner of the Michigan State UCLA game in the Sweet 16. And that's, you called it an upset. Anytime Syracuse makes it to the Sweet 16, I don't feel like they're upsetting anybody, right? I mean, they might be a double-digit seed. It just is what it is. The Oral Roberts thing, yeah, that's pretty amazing. And this Loyola Chicago isn't really, it's not that big of an upset. Look at these guys, man. This Loyola Chicago team is good. They're an 8 seed this year. They're a very good basketball team. And they're talking about this guy being the next Mark Few, right? If he ends up staying at Loyola Chicago, if they're going to put some money into that program, this guy could turn that place around. Chances are he'll be like every other coach and take the next big money gig that comes around. But Gonzaga threw a ton of money into that program around Mark Few when he made those 2 runs early in his career. And if Loyola is smart and they do that, they've got an opportunity of keeping this guy.
Yep. It's always fun to see around this time as teams who didn't make the tournament or as teams fall off in the tournament or whatever, the coaching carousel start going around and seeing hires and who was fired. And looks like an assistant from X is going to take the Minnesota job, who was Richard Pitino was let go there. All kinds of things working their way through the NCAA right now. We'll have a lot more about the tournament next week. But we need to get into our comedy segment for this week because we were both really excited about this, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. Chris, you chose Nate Bargatze, The Greatest Average American, on Netflix. If you haven't watched it and you're listening to this, please watch it. But before I say that and act like I was a huge fan of it, we need to talk about it and rate it.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and go first because when I first saw this was coming on, I was excited. I wanted to do this immediately. I have been listening to segments of this guy for years on YouTube and different things he's done. And see the transformation just in his face over the past 10 years is hilarious. He needs to keep the beard. It's definitely a good look. Yes. The baby face, smooth fat face thing that he had going on early, not pretty. I've been watching a bunch. I've watched this special twice now, and I laughed just as hard the second time as I did the first time. Adam, this what did not disappoint me. Usually, I'm all in on the dirty language, dirty comedy. That stuff cracks me up. You got your Jim Gaffigan stuff that you think is hilarious, and and I'm, I could take him or leave him. Nate Bargatze doesn't cuss, doesn't say anything crazy, like he doesn't get too dirty. This guy might be my favorite comedian right now. I gave him a 4.9. I did not laughing throughout this entire thing. This guy is absolutely hilarious. I'll watch it again. I will watch this through. I'm gonna try to get my wife to watch it because there's some really funny stuff in here that I'd love for her to listen to. She would crack up about. This guy, when he starts talking about his kids and in YouTube, and he's got hours of his kids looking at him and going, "Hey guys, subscribe to this and do this. Hey, today on the show." That's what my kids do all day. They take my phone and I've got video after video after video of the exact same thing. "Hey guys, welcome to a video." That's what they say every single time. I was cracking up. The kid in bed, the whole thing, he starts off because this is outdoors, and he starts off talking about, what do you say, something like I know a guy that says he had COVID. He said he got COVID back in 2015. We all know all the people he's talking about, and he delivers the jokes so matter-of-factly. His timing is perfect. It's almost like he's kind of stumbling, but he's really not. He's just throwing a couple extra little funny things in that catch you and then pull you right. Oh my God. This dude, the Chuck E. Cheese deal, when he's talking about Chuck E. Cheese, oh my gosh. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now. Yeah, I cracked up laughing the entire time. I got a ton of notes and wrote down a ton of different things. I could talk about them the whole time, but that's all I got to tell you. That's all I got to say. Watch it, because I don't want to ruin this. Because everyone needs to watch this. It's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I agree with you. Nate Bargatze is one of the best comics around right now, for sure. That was one of the most exciting things about hearing about this one coming out is it feels like he just had, especially the Tennessee kid is only a year and a half old or something like that. So he just put out a really, really good special. And then it feels like so quickly came back with another one that was all new stuff and just really outstanding. I wrote down COVID jokes. Like everybody, a lot of comics have or are going to have COVID jokes. His are probably the best I've heard so far.
And he got out. He's out in front of a lot of these guys, right? Sam Morrell, him got out in front of all these guys, and they get their COVID jokes first because they did their outdoor. They put their hour special in already.
Mhm.
So yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah, they're comics doing the road and everything, and I'm sure they have jokes, but these are the ones we're seeing. These are the ones that everybody gets to see.
Yep.
So yeah, and I wrote down Chuck E. Cheese. I wrote down Common Core Math. He does it. He's got a good
So
10
hilarious.
minutes on that. Reversible jacket. That made me laugh really hard. He bought two of the same jacket because he didn't know it was reversible.
He loves talking about how dumb he is. The thing with his little person friend, oh my gosh. And then he says that's the first time his buddy was the first time that he heard about this Nancy Kerrigan thing at the same time. And at the end of the special, it shows that guy, and he's like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
The other thing I wrote down was attic stuff. When he was talking about when his wife catches him eating or whatever, he's like, I could be 3 a.m. I could go up in the attic and eat, whatever. And he said she would turn on a light when I got up there. She would turn on a light and say, "What are you doing?" or something like that. He'd be like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "What? This is when I do my attic stuff," or something like that. It's way funnier than that. But when he said that, that made me laugh pretty hard.
So good. It's so good. And if you've got a kid that sleeps in bed with you at night, like he talks about having his kid sleeps in bed with him at night still. And I have, at least one, sometimes up to 3 in my bed. And he said, when I'm on the road, in a hotel, I have to sleep with my head on a nightstand just to fall asleep because that's what I'm used to doing. She could turn a king size bed into a twin. What's up with this 8-year-old going through menopause? She's always burning up in the middle of the night. Oh my God. So funny.
I thought about you a lot when he was doing these jokes because he has kids like you do, and he does a lot of stuff about jokes about being married and with his wife and his kids and everything. So if you are a family man or woman, you'll enjoy that.
He told another joke about how dumb he is. He likes to talk about how dumb he is, which is really funny to me too, because we're all dumb, right? He said, to show you how dumb it was, I was taking a class called science my senior year in high school. It was just called science. And that reminded me, I took biology my senior year. Every single kid at Elder took it their sophomore year. I was in biology as a senior with all sophomores. So yeah.
I think I took keyboarding my senior year, and I was in there with freshmen.
Nice.
Yeah. So
isn't that funny? They probably don't even have that class anymore because everyone knows how to use a keyboard before they get to high school.
Yeah, that's true.
The Oregon Trail. Oh, that's another part. The Oregon Trail generation. I love that. We're the Oregon Trail generation.
We're millennials.
No, we're, like he said, we're in the middle, daggone it. I'm part of the Oregon Trail generation. I'm taking that with me.
Look it up.
I know what it says, you
okay. You're just claiming Oregon. I got you.
He's technically Gen Z, technically.
I thought there really was a gap or something. I don't see. That's how dumb I am. I don't know.
The generation gap is like the 3 to 4 years in between the generation, like two years into this generation, 2 years behind this generation. Like that's the generation gap because they're not quite this, but they're not quite that because they're at the end of one and at the beginning of another.
Okay. I gotcha. Okay. So
I could be totally wrong about that.
I don't know. I remember looking up millennial one time and being surprised that I think it starts in 1980 or something like that.
Some people, like, depends on the website you go to. Some say 78, some say 80, some say 81. It's all over.
Oh, all right. So who knows what it really is. So your 4.9 is doing to me what I think I did to you again. Was it Eric Myers? Maybe. You're making me rethink because I had 3.9. I mean, I thought this was really good.
That's okay. If
I had 3.9, you had a 4.9, which has to be
this is
highest.
my favorite. This is
ever.
my favorite special we've watched. This is my favorite. This is my favorite comedy special that we've watched.
We're probably 60, 70 comedy specials in, maybe. I mean, we've been doing it over a year. Probably 50 or 60 at least. And this is your favorite one. That's big. That is
More
big
than
time.
likely, it's because every joke related to it, right? Like I felt like everything related to me, so it made it easy. You know, kids, marriage, the how old we are, the different things, in hotels, in whatever cast went out. He said, "Hold on, I got a younger guy here. I'll set him up." And the guy was like 60 or 55 or something. Oh my gosh. He got comfortable on his bed. He was back a little too far on my bed. The back of his calves were touching the bed. His feet are dangling.
That whole bit was really good too.
Oh, yeah. The whole thing, the whole special. There was not a joke where I was like, I laughed at everything.
That's awesome. It was really good. I'll stay at my 3.9. We've got a decent gap in there, but we both really loved it. I think that's the big thing, the most important thing. So we've got to make some choices here next week. I've got to pick a comedy special. You've got to pick a Mount Rushmore. I'm going to go my comedy special. I'm going with, it's not a new one. All right. I'm going to start turning to Amazon Prime because there's a ton of comedy specials on Amazon Prime. They might be, some newer ones, some from 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, but there are so many on there. I was looking through them before. I'm like, man, there's so many good comics that I've either already seen or really want to see because I know they're good. So I'm going to go with a guy. I'm sure you know him, TJ Miller. You know TJ Miller.
Yep.
In 2017, Meticulously Ridiculous is the title of the special on Amazon Prime. It's 4 years or whatever, 4 years old now, but TJ Miller, I think, is really funny. He's been in a whole bunch of things now, and he is just super, super stand-up comedian. He's one of those guys. I'm not a big, a guy that has way too much energy. I'm mostly a low-key guy most of the time. So we've watched some of those specials that it's like, oh my gosh, are you going to have that kind of energy the whole entire time?
Yeah.
You gotta calm down. It gets a little over the top sometimes. TJ Miller is like that. I already know, but I know how funny he is, and I really, really like him. So let's go with Meticulously Ridiculous.
All right, that sounds good. We'll go with the sexual assault guy.
Did he?
Oh man, he's let's see, I was trying to look it up because I knew he got into some kind of sexual assault thing. I think it was an Uber deal. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He settled with somebody. He was released on his own recognizance after bail. I mean, he was arrested. Sexual assault 2017, an anonymous woman at George Washington University.
In 2017, the same year that he did the special.
Well, it looks like he must have been traveling because it was at George Washington University. Amtrak bomb threat incident. Miller was arrested one night, April 9th, 2018 at LaGuardia. Fake bomb threat on an Amtrak train. Oh yeah, this dude's he's had all kinds of stuff. Work misconduct 2018 when he was actress Alice Wetterlin on a show he was doing unprofessional behavior on set.
Well, yeah, that's how he behaves all the time.
No,
okay. I should have done my research on this.
No, that's okay because I do think the guy is funny, dude. It's like Louis C.K., right? He's nasty, weirdo, but he's still a pretty funny guy.
He's one of the all-time greats.
Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby too. I mean,
knocking him down.
Chris D'Elia. I mean, let's go down the list of guys who are in big trouble.
I didn't even hear Chris D'Elia got in trouble.
Oh, he's just now in the last few weeks has come back into, for almost a year now, for about a year, he's been off the grid. He's been off the radar completely. Hasn't done a his podcast was huge, and he got into some big mess, and finally just in the last couple of weeks came back, started doing his podcast again, and actually like started speaking about what happened and that kind of thing. So yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Oh Lordy. Yep. It's just the age we live in now. So so you're gonna do that. And which one of these were you doing?
Called Meticulously Ridiculous.
Got it.
TJ Jailbird. I think that's what the J stands for.
That must be it.
Thomas
Timothy
Jailbird Miller.
Thomas, probably. There you go. All right. So on that note, I get to choose our Mount Rushmore for next week. And I am going to go with, let's see, I'm going to go with, tell you what, not 100% prepared. Thought I'd be able to do this one off the top of my head. Not working. So let's do this. And I'm in a hotel room, so there is nothing I'm looking at that is helping me in any
Mount
way.
Rushmore of alarm clocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Mount Rushmore of drawer Bibles.
Okay, how about this? I got you. Mount Rushmore of man, this is terrific radio or podcasting. I really want to do.
I mean, really, we could just make that decision off air and come back and do it next week.
No, let's do it right now. Mount Rushmore. No. Mount Rushmore of who's of Mount Rushmore of Cinderella teams in the NCAA tournament. The greatest Cinderella teams of all time.
Excellent choice. Topical.
NC State Wolfpack. You got Oral Roberts. You got George Masons. You got all kinds.
Florida Gulf Coast, I think.
Florida Gulf Coast. All kinds. They have to have won. They have to have made it to the Sweet 16. That's
okay.
They have to have made it to the Sweet 16. So just because who was the 16 seed that beat Virginia a few years back? That doesn't count.
Oh,
you got to win 2 games. So this Oral Roberts team would count. Different things like that.
Okay.
Or if you were like a 9 seed or an 8 seed and won the whole tournament, I feel like that should count too.
UConn.
There you go.
Okay. All right. That's fair. NC State.
All right. This is going to be no fun to figure out, but
no, it will, because you know what?
Look up.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you look it up, you're gonna start seeing all these things. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yep.
This will be a good one.
There's 1 or 2 of them every single year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
okay. All right. Good job.
There we go.
All right. So next week we'll tune back in. So we'll know by next week we'll know who's going to be in the Final Four, right? Because we have this weekend we'll have the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. So we can go over anything big that happens in those games, and then we will know the Final Four. We'll update you on the Nosebleed Sports Podcast bracket pool, I guess. Do you still call it a pool?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We'll do that. We'll have some more stuff. We'll probably be getting into, so it'll be the last week of spring training. So we'll be getting ready to get into, so maybe we'll do our picks or our predictions for baseball coming up for this season. Perhaps we'll do that. We'll have plenty of stuff for you. We'll have TJ Miller. We'll have the NCAA, the Mount Rushmore of NCAA Cinderella teams. It'll be a good episode.
Sounds good to me, man. Until then, don't forget to turn your headlights on.